The guitar hero once ruled the world with finger-blistering guitar solos and 6 strings raised high. But today the throne sits empty, or does it? Because in 2025, the world's most influential guitarists hardly use distortion, and they barely touch tradition. So how did we get from this to this? This is the story of how the record industry killed the guitar god, and how guys like Tim Henson and others are redefining what a guitar hero can look like. Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Ritchie Blackmore, Eddie Van Halen, Slash, rock stars and cultural icons. You didn't even have to play guitar to know who these guys were. Heck, even your grandmother knew who these guys were. Guitar solos weren't just expected, they were worshipped. By the late 1970s, the guitar hero was a brand. Everything from the concerts, the endorsements, the magazine covers. Sitting at the center of the universe was a guitar solo. In the early to mid 1970s, the guitar was king. Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and later Van Halen. These bands sold out arenas on the backs of larger-than-life guitar heroes. But then the music industry started to change. Not organically, but by design. By the late 1970s, the record labels started shifting their focus towards disco, which was cheaper to produce and had a more radio-friendly sound at the time. Many rock artists were pushed out or forced to adapt. And in the record company's mind, guitar music became too complicated or too aggressive for mass radio appeal. By the 1980s, MTV was on the scene, and labels started investing in more synth-driven pop music. Artists such as Madonna, Michael Jackson, and Prince, who was actually a guitar hero in his own right, but downplayed it for mass appeal, were getting massive radio airplay. Guitar solos became cleaner, shorter, and more radio-friendly. Think about all the 70s guitar solos, especially some of the longer ones, like the Freebird solo, Hotel California. Heck, even the solo in Stairway to Heaven was now all of a sudden considered too long, too complex for the listener. Session players started replacing band guys on the albums because the session players could get it done generally in one take, versus the guy that's going to be on the tour might take many hours to perfect that guitar solo or that riff in the studio, which ate up a lot of time and money. In the 1990s and through the 2000s, labels started chasing hip-hop artists and R&B artists, and guitar was largely absent. Sampling started replacing real instrumentation. Then the culture shifts from rock stars to MCs, producers, and pop stars. By the early 1990s, grunge and alternative rock started taking over, and guitar heroes became less inspirational and more like relics. By the 2000s, the record industry was not just ignoring guitar music, but they were actively investing in everything else. For a good amount of the 2000s, the guitar hero was not doing really too much innovative. The old heroes that we grew up with were still playing and touring, but they found themselves going from massive arenas down to theater-style venues, and in some cases, small clubs. Thanks to the advent of the internet, YouTube basically becomes the new MTV. Players no longer need a record label to gain a following. Bedroom musicians start gaining millions of views through tutorials, covers, and original material. Since then, we've seen the rise of independent virtuosos. Tim Henson, Ichka Nito, Matteo Mancuso, Marcin, Mateus Asato, and countless others. Now, Ichka Nito is a guitarist out of Japan, and his guitar playing could be compared to origami. Very complex, but at the same time, very subtle and clean. It's delicate, it's beautiful, and precisely folded. Now, Mateus Asato is out of Brazil, and he's known for a very soulful, melodic approach to his guitar playing that combines elements of gospel, pop, and rock. I think of Mateus Asato as the soul of David Gilmour, but the fingers of Steve Lukather. Marcin from Poland combines percussive finger style with flamenco, classical, and metal elements. He's known for doing some jaw-dropping arrangements of rock and metal songs on an acoustic guitar. He's got a very dramatic stage presence and physical approach to his playing. Now, Matteo Mancuso, who comes from Italy, has got to be one of my favorite new guitar players on this list. He combines elements of jazz and fusion, rock and classical, all rolled into one unique signature sound. But the most distinguishable characteristic about Matteo's playing is his right hand technique. Rather than use a pick on electric guitar, he's approaching it from almost like a classical guitar player standpoint, but don't let that fool you. The guy has got the chops and the technique to hang with any electric guitar player using a pick. And then there's Tim Henson from the group Polyphia, whose music went from metalcore to a more genre fluid direction, combining elements of flamenco, classical, and metal all rolled into one. Their videos go viral without even any lyrics in the songs. Tim Henson has collaborated with guys like Steve Vai, and to me, Steve Vai has a very discerning ear, and if Steve hears something in Tim Henson and Polyphia, then maybe we should as well. Tim's playing is very technical and precise, almost surgical. He has been at times criticized for being maybe a little robotic and sometimes sterile with his playing, but there's no denying the technical abilities that Tim Henson has. Now there's a whole new wave of young guitar players picking up the instrument for the first time thanks to the influence of Tim Henson. Tim Henson has endorsements from major companies such as Ibanez Guitars, Neural DSP Effects, Fishman Pickups, and things like that. So these are all good things for the music industry, as many more people are starting to take up guitar, which can only help us in the long run. Hey, drop me some comments down below on your thoughts of the death of the guitar hero and the rise of the internet guitarist. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep rocking on.